welcome to Beyond the Headlines after a one-week hiatus. It was a holiday last week, and so we put a pause, and we're back with you this week. I'm your presenter, Odette Campbell, and this evening we're having a political forum. And early in the day, we did advise that we were having representative of the Grenada Movement, the recently launched, the newest political party, the National Democratic Congress, and the Grenada United Labour Party, which is going through a renaissance of sort. We need to explain that the new National Party was invited to the program. However, we got a notation saying, "Hi, blessings to you and the team at GBN. At this time, our party is engaged in much internal discussions and policy revision. Thus, it is faithful that we need to complete our in-house roundtable before we engage in public pronouncements. Thanks on behalf of our party for the consideration." So the new National Party opted out. We did have agreement from the Grenada Movement to participate in tonight's program. However, in the last hour, we got word from the TGM that they're unable to participate. We will share their reasoning with you a little later in the program. In the interest of time, we'll get going, and let's promise a little later we'll explain their reason for pulling out of tonight's program as we go along. I'm pleased to present our remaining panelists, Mr. Joseph Andall. He's the caretaker for St. Patrick's West, representing the National Democratic Congress, and Mr. Geoffrey Predhomme, and he is representing the Grenada United Labour Party. We dare say Grenada's oldest political party, which, as we say, is experiencing some kind of renaissance and rebirth. So Mr. Predhomme is joining us from New York, and from the north of Grenada, we have Mr. Andall. I'm pleased to present my co-host for this evening, Ms. Cassandra Mitchell. Cassandra, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Odette, and good evening to your listening audience, your viewing audience. Thank you for this opportunity to sit here and to ask relevant questions of individuals who are asking us, the voting populace, to give them an opportunity to govern and manage our affairs. Thank you, Mr. Andall, and thank you, Mr. Predhomme.
Good evening, Cassandra. Good evening, Odette. Good evening to Mr. Predhomme. Good evening to all listeners and viewers, and thank you to the GBN for affording us this opportunity to share our views on matters of national importance.
Similarly, good evening, Odette, Mrs. Mitchell, and Mr. Andall. It's an opportunity to tell you the GULP story and where we are to date.
Yes, interesting that you talk about the GULP story, because I'm going to start off with you this evening, and I'm giving you first preference, even that GULP is one of the oldest political organizations in Grenada. When I saw your name, Geoffrey Predhomme, I'm one of the, I see myself as one of the individuals who will be voting in the upcoming general elections, and the first thing I ask myself is, who is he? So, to the listening and the viewing audience, can you tell us who you are?
Okay, well, I am Geoffrey Predhomme. I'm the fourth child of Robert and Joyce Predhomme. My mom hails from St. Paul's, and my dad hails from St. John's. He represented St. John's for many years, and he was the deputy political leader and deputy prime minister up until the coup of 1979. And for me, I was arrested with my dad and then released, and later was attempted to rearrest again. And a plan was hatched, and they got me to New York. I got political asylum, and I have been out here in exile. I'm getting ready to return from exile as I wrap up my activities here in the United States. I spent 30 years in the United States Air Force and retired as a Chief Master Sergeant. Later, 2 years later after retirement, I was recruited back into the Veteran Affairs, and I have been doing that. And since then, I got involved with trade unionism, and I'm currently the president of a local union at the facility where I'm at. We started rebuilding the GULP about 15 months ago. I came, both my parents died a week apart, and we did I did the eulogy for my parents, and following that, I met with quite a few people who encouraged me to come back. I did promise my dad that when I can, I would, because I am passionate about politics, and my passion must drive my purpose. So I'm at the point where We are rebuilding the GULP as a purpose-driven grassroots organization, which it is, because the GULP came from the people. It started as a labor movement and gave birth to the Grenada United Labour Party. And so that is what we are doing now. We are rebuilding, and we have a strategic operational plan, and we are following that in a systematic way.
All right, so
and we are making great strides as we move forward.
Right. So, Mr. Predhomme, thanks so much for that intro. Unfortunately, we are seeing you frozen on the screen. It sends a signal to us that we're having a technical challenge. So let me ask and crave the indulgence of our listeners and viewers. Let's take a commercial break, and we'll try to rectify the latency that we are experiencing in the system. Please be patient with us while we rectify this problem. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, easy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex, or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016, or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need, and we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LED. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
How do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
Renelec, energizing our Grenada.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fallage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
We are taking pride in outstanding performance. We are encouraging and recognizing innovation. We are committed to continuously doing things better, with enhanced services coming soon. Yes, we are here for you. Check us out today for your financial need. GUT Community Credit Union. It's where you belong.
We support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
for your education,
for your financial freedom,
for that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Communal. Contact us today.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire.
Hey, let me go Never Vex.
Never Vex.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go. You go Never Vex.
Never Vex. What, man? I don't vex.
You don't vex?
No,
I feel you like.
I don't vex.
You don't vex?
Give me food. Give me
man, no. That wasn't for food, man. That wasn't for food.
Never Vex we play. Never Vex is for anything.
No, it wasn't for food. But folks, anyway, those were the kind of games we played in school, you know, as little boys. It was wonderful. Things have changed a little bit now, you know. But I'm sure my partner know about those games. That's why you want to go Never Vex with me now.
Well, we got to break the
Let me break it. Let me break. Yeah.
We go freezing set.
I prefer freeze.
Yeah, freeze.
So boy, you give back my phone, right? Right. Yeah. So we go in freeze.
Okay.
We go freeze. So folks, join us this Friday.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire. A little more calypso. Forget the funk and the disco.
Can you spend wisely and have more savings? Yes, you can. Learn more with Money Matters on GBN Television. The Money Matters series explores 12 top ways to save money. In this series, you would learn how to save by setting up your spending money right. Save on vehicle loans, home improvement projects, your credit cards, and even on prescription drugs. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 7:15 for Money Matters, a lighthearted conversation with financial planner Tali Francis. Follow the rebroadcast on Thursdays at 6:50 p.m. and on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. Money Matters is a financial literacy public awareness program sponsored by Republic Bank Grenada.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Hey folks, you're invited to tune in to Grenada Music to the World program hosted by Eugene Gittens on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9, Hot FM 98.5, 98.7, GBN TV and all their social media platforms. The only totally local music program in Grenada, representing all genres of music. So it's Green's Music to the World on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN with the music icon himself, Mr. Eugene Gittens. See you then.
There's no better way to start your day than with me on Good Morning Grenada. Good Morning Grenada is your one-stop shop. We have information, education, entertainment, your bi-weekly traffic cam, and we link up with the sister isles of Carriacou and PT Martinique. Join me every 6:35 on weekdays for Good Morning Grenada. It's your daily dose of all things Grenadian, mixed with just a little bit of crazy.
Good morning, good morning.
I said just a little bit of crazy.
I tell all of the things that take me.
Good Morning Grenada, 6:35 a.m. on weekdays, available on all GBN platforms. Start your morning off right.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire.
Hey. Let me go Never Vex.
Never Vex?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go. You go Never Vex?
Never Vex. What, man? I don't vex.
You don't vex?
No,
I feel you like that.
I don't vex.
You don't vex?
Give me food. Give me
man, no. That wasn't for food, man. That wasn't for food.
Never Vex we play. Never Vex is for anything.
No, it wasn't for food. But folks, anyway, those were the kind of games we played in school, you know, as little boys. It was wonderful. Things have changed a little bit now, you know. But I'm sure my partner know about those games. That's why you wonder what Never Vex with me now.
Well, we got to break the
Let me break it. Let me break. Yeah.
We will go freeze instead.
I prefer freeze.
Yeah, freeze.
So, boy, you give back my phone, right? Right, yeah. So we go in freeze.
Okay.
We go freeze. So, folks, join us this Friday.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let me set on fire. A little more calypso. Forget the funk and the disco.
JBN.
And welcome back. We seem to have rectified the challenge that we have been experiencing with some latency on the system. We did see our panelists this evening being frozen on screen. We like to ensure that we can have both audio and video, and we welcome you back to the program. As said earlier, we did invite the various political parties to be present. The New National Party declined over the weekend. We did have agreement from the Grenada Movement, which was recently launched as a political party. As we're aware, they started off as a non-governmental organization, and they launched as a political party about 2 weeks ago, held a press conference last week. They had agreed to be on tonight's program. However, late this evening, just before coming on air, we got a note through the producer that was forwarded to me. They opted out of the program on the last minute. So tonight we have the rebirth of the Grenada United Labour Party with Mr. Geoffrey Predhomme. He is the son of Mr. Herbert Predhomme. Yes, and the representative for St. Patrick West, the caretaker there, we have Mr. Joseph Andall. And my co-host this evening is Ms. Cassandra Mitchell. And we know that Cassandra has been on the headlines several times as a panelist, but unfortunately it seems as if Cassandra's presence as co-host this evening is what caused the pulling out of the TGM from the program. So the note I have that was sent through the producer says, "Good evening, Mrs. Campbell. The Grenada Movement wishes to register in the strongest possible terms its shock at the unethical non-disclosure of the existence of a co-host for this evening's program Beyond the Headlines, and worse yet, a co-host whose open and oft-stated hostility to TGM cannot in any way be considered journalistically objective. TGM will not lend itself to a circus role in an atmosphere that does nothing other than demean the profession of journalism when there are serious national issues to be addressed. We therefore will not participate this evening." So Cassandra, you caused me to lose my guest. I wonder why. What caused this?
Well, it would have been nice to have the TGM representative on the panel to challenge this statement. I did have one encounter with TGM chairman a couple of weeks after the organization launched on another platform. I was not representing TGM. They did reach out to me in the early days of recruiting members. So I was part of a WhatsApp group, but I was not representing TGM on the platform. If one goes back, you can clearly see that I was representing the youth organization of which I spearhead, and I was representing young people on the panel. Prior to me going on the panel, the young people presented questions that they wanted me to pose to the chairman of the NGO. I asked those questions representing the youth, and it was on that platform that they considered me to be hostile towards their chairman. They indicated to me via WhatsApp that if I had an issue with their chairman, I should not have tried to embarrass him on an international platform, but text him privately to find out the answers to my question. I indicated to them that it was not the answers to my questions, but it was questions that young people wanted answers to, and that they had forwarded to me. So it would have been nice to have them here. I am not a journalist. I am a young Grenadian citizen, and I will be voting. And I think that I am entitled to question any leader, any individual who's putting themselves up for office, regardless of which hat that I wear. And I wear several hats because I'm also a member of civil society. So it's rather unfortunate that they consider my questions posed to their chairman as being hostile, and they refuse to come to the public to have questions posed to them because of me. But I want to just advise TGM that I am just one of the many young people that you are going to meet who are going to be asking the questions that I have to you. Are you going to run away every time you think that the individual is hostile?
And let's make it clear that we, in the last 6 weeks or so, have opened this program up to several co-hosts, and none of our previous panelists questioned who we selected as co-hosts, and neither was it incumbent upon them to attend. It was not a prerequisite for them to attend based on who the co-host was. So let's move along. But just before we go, Cassandra, I put a quick call in because I said I was ambushed by this at the last minute. I put a quick call in to someone to see if I could get this ventilated, and I was told early in the game you called out the TGM for launching itself as a non-political organization when in fact you had reason to believe that they were. Is that true?
Yes, and this is not just my personal sentiment, it is the sentiment expressed by many Grenadians that the TGM has been deceptive in their intent. They indicated that they were an NGO and a pressure group, but from all indications, and this is from us sitting here, Grenadians who you're asking to vote for you, from all intent and purposes, you always have been a political organization. And I do apologize if you think that my questioning was hostile, but this is coming from several quarters.
All right. Thank you so much for clarifying that. So to our viewers and listeners, it was imperative that we clarify this point because when we don't like to engage in false advertising, and we did advertise earlier via our social media platforms that we were having TGM here, and it was essential that we ventilate the point as to why we no longer have them on the program. So Mr. Andall, we will move to you now. Cassandra, you have a direct question for Mr. Andall. We did get to hear from Mr. Predhomme first off this evening.
Yes, I think the question in the back of all of our minds is that we know that we are seeing an emergence of opposition entities. Many attribute this to the lack of a coherent, well-organized opposition. What are your thoughts on this? And yes, I know that you have answered this and other representatives of the NDC, but the question is still lingering in the minds of the voting populace. Why you aren't showing that you're organized, you have been lackadaisical and cherry picking in addressing issues affecting us as Grenadians. What are your thoughts?
Well, we cannot control what people think or say. Very often I encounter people and they say to me, we're not hearing you on issue X, Y, or Z. And when I say to them sometimes, we have the Heartbeat program, which is an official NDC program, airing the views of the NDC. They say, I'm in church at that time. When I say that very often we are on GBN to the point on Tuesday morning, they say I'm at work at that time. When I say that we have a newsletter which we publish electronically and we also make some hard copies, they say that they are not on social media. Some say they don't like to read. So while it may be true that there are some people that we are not reaching, it is not because we are not ventilating the issues or we are not addressing them. For different reasons, people may find themselves out of the loop. There are people who have almost put themselves in a sort of cocoon of non-communication when it comes to matters of national interest, particularly of a political nature. Regarding the emergence of other political forces, it's a wide open market space, and NDC does not have a monopoly, or no other party, as far as I know, has a monopoly on political space in Grenada. It is good to see people of different persuasions getting involved in the politics. We believe that more people ought to become involved at different levels. It is not the exclusive reserve of the New National Party or the National Democratic Congress. And there may come a time when, well, there will come a time when all political parties will have to face the public via the ballot box, and the people will then speak, and then we'll see who is standing where.
And you mentioned there are people who are out of the loop. How does the NDC, what is the NDC's strategy in reaching those people? Because you can't leave them out of the loop.
Right. We try to reach people through different means, through different fora. I won't be discussing party strategy, but I can tell you some of the initiatives that we have been engaged in. Recently, we have started doing our Touchdown Sundays, where we go to a different community on specific Sundays. Our members fan out across the community. We engage the people. We feel the pulse. We share our ideas with them. We listen to their ideas, their criticisms, their questions, and so on. We engage everyone. We try to knock on every single door. In fact, just yesterday, we were in the constituency that I'm hoping to represent, St. Patrick West, in polling division 4, Sates, and we had a wonderful reception from the people of High Street and the surrounding areas of Sates. We have been going on our door-to-door campaign in several constituencies over the past few months, and we follow up the Touchdown Sunday with a public meeting on the Wednesday after. So our next public meeting will be this Wednesday in Sates at the top of the town, close to the Anglican school, close to the Smart Buy or Belfon supermarket from 7 p.m.
Mr. Andall, I've had the opportunity, like many of the listening and the viewing audience, to listen in on one of those meetings that you're having in the community. One of my issues as a voter, we are tired of the constant criticism of the current administration and their policies and programs. What we want to hear, and we want to hear it reiterated, what are the NDC's plans if we decide to give them another term in office?
Yep, we have been getting some of those comments, and to be fair, the NDC does not only criticize. If the meeting we had, which was first in the series last Wednesday in the Limes and Grandlands, there were several examples of NDC policy positions articulated by Mr. Terry Forrester, by Mr. Ray Roberts, by Mr. Ali Dowden, by Mr. Kennedy Roberts. Now, we must not be naive. Politics is a competitive venture, and a political party in opposition has an almost sacred obligation to point out the shortcomings, the failures, and the wrongdoings of the incumbent administration. Failure to do that will amount to a dereliction of duty. The important thing is finding the right balance between criticizing and highlighting shortcomings and pushing forward your own plans, your own policy, your own agenda. And while we are not perfect, we are listening to the people and we are making the necessary adjustments as we go ahead. There is no point in telling yourself, this is what I want to do, if that is not what the people want to see or hear. So it is a work in progress. We are listening and we are responding. And we are not afraid of tough questions.
Cassandra, if we could just cross now to Mr. Predhomme, people asking to hear him. And Mr. Predhomme, some people already are asking, why are you trying to revive what some consider to be a dead horse?
Well, I want to impress them and to impress upon them the importance of the GULP and the historical nature of it. The GULP is a part of Grenadian history, and if you reflect back, this year we're celebrating 70 years of the GULP democratic successful revolution of 1951. And what did we achieve by that? We got the 8-hour workday. We got the liberation of women from taking produce from the field and bringing it up to the estate yards. Additionally, they got back pay. Historically, the people worked for the same wages in 1850 that they worked for in 1950. So we got an increase in wages, they got sick pay, and we got the water standpipe. So it was the beginning of the socioeconomic revolution in Grenada, the basic development of Grenada. And the Grenada United Labour Party has a part to play in the future of Grenada, in the development of Grenada, in the nation building of Grenada. When you think of the Grenada United Labour Party, you think of all the things that we are experiencing now, that all the other parties benefited from, but it was foundational. And we want to build the Grenada United Labour Party as a premier organization that impacts national development. We have added certain things because people have said there were excesses during Sir Eric's period. We added a vision statement, a mission statement, and we added values, 9 values that universal values. If the individual strap it on, the family strap it on, the community strap it on, it becomes national values, and it impacts and strengthens democracy, the Grenadian democracy. So that is it in a nutshell. And we are following a strategic operational plan. We are systematic. We are thinking long-term, but we have an immediate plan, short-term, medium, and long-term. And we will be part of the conversation as we move forward in developing plans and policies for the Grenadian people, or for the individuals on the average. All our policies and programs will directly impact them because we want to meet people at their point of need so we can give them a hand up. And that's what our policies would reflect. And we took 6 months to study our history, to reflect. We created a research and development and intelligence section of the redevelopment process. And that has been working tremendously for us as we move forward with the plan. And everybody would see our logo. It looks simple, but it's profound because it reflects that the Grenada United Labour Party stands on 3 strategic pillars: independence, justice, and development. And the young people in particularly, we have people in Grenada who in ages between 18 and 35 have not had a really good solid job. And most of them do debushing and stuff. We want to change all of that so that we can meet them at their point of need. And so the young people are gravitating to the Grenada United Labour Party. We have Operation Taproot, where we are finding our people. One of the things that people will realize about the Grenada United Labour Party is that it has a political base. And we are in the process of identifying that base. Once we feel secure that we are there, then we can double and triple and quadruple our base. So we have a systematic strategic operational plan, which is on phase 2, and that is where we are. So you can look forward to us being very engaged, particularly with the young people, to get them on board so that we can address their needs.
All right, Cassandra, you have a follow-up for Mr. Predhomme?
Yes, I think that we need some clarity. Mr. Predhomme, were you appointed political leader of the GULP?
No, how we did this was that we gathered all our executive members from the last convention, which was held at the Anglican School in St. John's, and collectively, in order to lead this effort, somebody has to lead. And so I was appointed the political leader of the Grenada United Labour Party in this effort in the rebuilding process.
So that's where we are. Was that the convention when Miss Gloria Payne-Banfield was elected?
No, the last convention that we have and that executive members still exist is when Mr. Colin Francis was elected the political leader. That's our last official where we have executive members that's still around that is part of our current rebuilding process.
And if you don't mind us asking, you mentioned we. Who are some of the people who are affiliated with the GULP at this time?
Well, I can mention quite a few. We have our own chat group, and it's internal to us. But most of our executive members that exist, we would provide all of that to you.
So, because you said that you were elected at the most recent convention when...
No, you misheard. The current members of the executive that still exists from the last convention is part of the rebuilding effort. They are part of the current Grenada United Labour Party operational plan to reignite the Grenada United Labour Party.
There are allegations, Mr. Predhomme, that some members of the GULP were not aware of your involvement until they heard it in the media.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that, and we would like to know who they are, because we are an open book. The only thing that we would tell you is that we are following a strategic operational plan in doing that. And for the most part, you can talk with the current executive members that are available and the current people that we have recruited, because we're in the process of attracting new capabilities so we could expand the capacity of the party.
All right, so
and what have you contributed to Grenada, which makes you a viable candidate?
And that's
well, I am a son of the soil. I went to GBSS during the shutdown. I went to Shaper School, so I graduated from there. When I left Grenada and went into exile, I got political asylum. I ran from Grenada because under the revolutionary period, my dad was in prison for almost 3 years. And my family was harassed, and we had some challenges. They attempted to rearrest me, and I was able to get the assistance of the U.S. government and was able to get out of Grenada. And I traveled with my uncle, Johnny Branch, who was married to my dad's sister, Anna Predhomme. And I went to New York. I got political asylum. I had the option to go to the CIA. I elected not to do that. And I went into the Air Force. And I have lived all over the world. I've been sojourning, developing myself. I went to school at night to good universities. I double majored in history and political science. I have a master's degree in public administration, national security. I have worked at the highest level of the military in terms of corporate jobs. I was a superintendent of a schoolhouse at the Air University. I have 2 associate degrees from the Community College of the Air Force, one in military instruction of technology and military science, the other one in administration. So I bring to the table, and for Grenada development, because I was assigned in Europe. I was in Germany for 2 years, then I went to Greece for 2 years, and I went back to Germany for six years. I've been involved in a lot of operations. I've been to Albania, Croatia, Hungary. I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan. I've been down to Djibouti. I went to Saudi Arabia. I did all the Gulf states.
Very impressive CV there, Mr. Predhomme. Very impressive CV there. And we have a question that somebody's asking that we put to the panel about a possible amalgamation. We will put that to the panel when we come back on Beyond the Headlines. We take a quick commercial break.
Thank you.
I'm a winner, you are winner, we are winners, winners, winners.
It's the big Big one. Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one lotto ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money bag symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Draw number 3218 for today, Monday, May 31st, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Makiba Bean from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner, and the game balls with industry standards and in no way tampered with. This time, your tickets at hand because we're about to play for a jackpot of $58,000. But first, your free ticket letter. Good luck. This evening's free ticket letter is check your tickets. Your free ticket letter for this evening is L, as in lucky. Let's proceed for 5 winning numbers. Good luck. First number this evening is check your tickets. First number up is 3. Second number. Second number is 25. Third number up. Third number is 7. Fourth number. Fourth number is 19. Fifth and final number. Final number is 32. Let's recap those numbers. Check your tickets. First number up is 3. The second, 25. Third, 7. Followed by 19. Fifth and final is 32. So that's 033 25 25 077 1919 and 3232. Your free ticket letter for this evening is L, as in lucky. Congratulations to all the winners of this evening's Lotto Draw. Lotto, play and win a lot. Many play all the games of the National Lotteries Authority, support sports, culture, and the nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
By now, you should know that the early bird catches the worm. So, what are you waiting for? Put wings to your feet and head to your nearest scratch seller. For every quick sevens scratch ticket you buy at $2, the NLA gives you 7 chances at winning as much as $7,000. Scratch the entire play area for your 7 chances at revealing as much sevens and win the corresponding prizes. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas?
Get Rubis, get going.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need, and we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LED. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
How do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
Renelec, energizing our Grenada. Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 418-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. As mentioned earlier, we're having a political discussion this evening, a political forum. We should have had a representative of the TGM. We do have a representative of the National Democratic Congress and the Grenada United Labour Party. The TGM backed away from tonight's program at the last minute, saying that they would not sit down with our co-host this evening. Our co-host is Cassandra Mitchell, and several people have responded to the TGM decision. One of the comments that we have says that statement and reason by TGM is rather unfortunate and grossly immature. They should have demonstrated a much more assertive and positive approach in facing such challenges in such an arena. They are demonstrating already their lack of offering real leadership and spine in engaging such a young and intellectual mind. How unfortunate they are not ready to engage our youths. I toss to our co-host this evening, Cassandra Mitchell. Cassandra, it's over to you.
Thank you, and thank you to the commenter for making that statement. Because during the break, I was asking myself, why would an entity who's claiming to want to represent the people of Grenada be afraid of tough questions? Just something to think about. Mr. Predhomme, I want to go over to you and to kind of delve into GULP.
Okay.
If you look at the history of GULP, GULP has been in turmoil since the death of Sir Gary. While I do not have the fact, you should be able to present it. You mentioned that Colin Francis, when he was leader, that was the last general election and the last executive meeting. But apparently, based on my research prior to me coming here, there seem to have been two GULPs, one led by Gloria Payne Banfield and the other led by Colin Francis. So which one of them?
Well, let me give you the facts. This is the facts I had. I spoke to Mr. Colin Francis, who's in the United States for medical reasons. And he said that Mrs. Banfield had resigned prior. There was a press conference, so you might be able to research that. And she had resigned, and then we had a convention, and he was elected unanimously. And we are working with all the elected people that are still available under the GULP Constitution. If you left the GULP and went to another party, you could only belong to one political party, and it's part of the GULP Constitution. So we had many people, and nothing is wrong with that. They went to either NMP or NDC, because after Mr. Colin Francis resigned, the party sort of went defunct. And what we had to do in order to study, we did a study. And it took us a while to put everything together, but we looked at the history of Grenada and the history of the Grenada United Labour Party up to 1979, and there are one, because that's just more or less the history of it. Sarika was both chief minister, he was premier during statehood, and then independence, first prime minister, all the way up to 79 until we had that coup. Why do we call it a coup? The reason why we call it a coup, because Brother Bishop was the leader of the opposition. So he was part of the government, and he overthrew his government because he was the leader of the opposition. And once they took over the government, which was a classic coup, they called it a revolution. They had the right to do that because they had the levers of power. What we have done is to restudy the period. We are ready. We did it in 1951, and we would do it again, but we have to be organized. So what we did...
But Mr. Predhomme, 1951 and 2021 are two totally different eras. And I understand where you're coming from. And I heard earlier before we took the break your impressive resume, very impressive, but it does not touch on the issues that affect us as Grenadians. I heard you having served in the military for numerous years and serving on organizations based in the US, if I'm correct. But what can you contribute to Grenadians and Grenadian society?
So let me tell you how we're going to approach this and how we want you to help us, because we're going to come talk to you and all similar young people groups like yourself. What we have done is that we studied the period. And so if you look at the logo for the Grenada United Labour Party, it sits on 3 strategic pillars. One of independence, which we guard our sovereignty and our rights. The constitution that Grenada has is one of the most progressive constitutions in terms of the social and democratic rights that are embedded in it. More progressive than the other OECS constitutions, because Grenada was the first to gain independence of the small island. Our second strategic pillar is justice. And you're talking about food security, you're talking about socioeconomic justice, whether it's environmental justice, etc. And then our last segment, where it impacts our young people, is development. So our 3 strategic pillars, again, is independence, justice, and development. And within the development, we want to make Grenada an entrepreneurial society. How are we going to do that? We're going to break it down into all the economic sectors and look to see where we can monetize it and to build out the capacity to see where we can have economic activity, because it's all about economic activities and productivity. And when you think of the Grenada United Labour Party, I want to make sure that all Grenadians, after tonight, think of the Grenada United Labour Party as a party that will come back and provide economic opportunity and social justice for all.
All right, so Cassandra, if I can cross here and let me just go to St. Patrick and ask the NDC caretaker for St. Patrick West, similar to how Mr. Predhomme has labeled what are their 3 particular pillars, what is the NDC taking to the public as your pillars upon which you will build a country? You need to unmute your microphone, Ms. Andall.
Yes, sorry about that, yes. Each organization has its own philosophy, its own way of doing things, and we are not modeling ourselves after the GULP or any other party. The NDC has a set of core values. These values are not unique to the NDC, but we believe that those values, such as patriotism, such as justice, such as honesty, and so on, those things are pillars upon which every democratic society must rest. In terms of the economy, we do not have to reinvent the wheel. We know what our resources are. We know that we have an intelligent, entrepreneurial people. We know that we have rich soil. We know that we have abundant marine resources. We believe that we also have hydrocarbon resources, although in recent times that has been put into doubt given all of the shenanigans surrounding it. And so what we believe is lacking in Grenada is the necessary will, the necessary leadership, and the necessary love of country to put the people before the self-interest of political parties and individual politicians. We have to become more inclusive, and not just as a slogan, but as a way of life. When you think about it, we are a tiny nation with a population barely exceeding 100,000. If we continue with this cricket game approach to governance, whereby one side wins an election and goes to bat, and only a chosen few get a chance at the wicket, and the others are made to toil in the hot sun, chasing balls to the boundaries for 5 years, that is a very self-defeating way of doing things. So in the NDC, we believe that regardless of one's political affiliation, perceived or real. Every Grenadian has a right to partake of the fruit of our country. Every Grenadian has a right to be able to contribute to national development. And this is something that is not just taught, but in the last iteration of an NDC government, it was done in fact. Now, some people talk about not going back to the past. And to me, that is a very convenient and self-serving thing. We cannot live in the past. But remember, when someone applies for a job, one of the first things one has to do is to prevent a CV or a resume. What does your CV talk about? It does not talk about what you plan to do. It gives a history, a concise history of your achievements up to that point in time. That, to an employer, is a good indicator of the type of person that they will be taking into their organization. So we have shown in the past that we not only talk about being inclusive, but we have embraced it and put it into practice. Now, Grenada, 40, 50, 60 years ago, was I wouldn't call it an industrial nation, but we had factories. We were exporting finished products. We have since regressed to the point where we are now even importing agricultural products, agricultural produce. This is something that does not require rocket science to address and to solve. COVID-19 has exposed to us the importance of being able to feed ourselves and also being able to lend a helping hand to our neighbors when they are in distress. So any NDC administration will put a lot of focus on the question of food security and nutrition security. We must go back to days of light manufacturing, of indigenous industries using local produce. We must empower our local entrepreneurs. We find it to be very unfair that foreign investors come in, they get 20, 25, 30, 40-year tax breaks, all sorts of concessions and inducements, and our local people who are based here, everything they produce stays with us and for us. They have to face the competition from these economies of scale, from the people who come in with the big bucks. The NDC believes that in as much as we need the influx of foreign investment, at the same level, we need to empower our local people. Our local people who want to invest in our economy, invest in our people, must be given every bit of support that is reasonable and necessary for them to compete and for them to succeed. So
you're looking at investment and you're looking at empowerment of your local people. I'm going to toss back to Cassandra in a bit, but Ms. Andall, the question that's lingering in a lot of people's minds is that the NDC actually got elected at one point, and in subsequent general elections was able to draw a huge following of people, had huge crowds at some of its rallies, and so why hasn't the NDC been able to convert that following into votes sufficient to at least give it a seat in Parliament? That's one of the questions being asked this evening.
That's a very, very good question. And I have been getting an experience over the past few months. I believe that in past years, we worked hard, but we probably did not work wisely enough. And I think sometimes we got carried away by crowds. We would go out to do our door-to-door canvassing, and we probably were not harvesting the necessary data, doing the necessary number crunching in the proper way, finding out what were the real issues that the people are concerned about. I believe that the NDC, I'm speaking here now not as an NDC, but as an analyst. We have so many of them in Grenada these days. I believe that the NDC has a tendency to look long-term and to take a macro view of things. But the reality of it, especially in certain communities, is that people are more concerned with their immediate needs and wants. And as a result of that, although we were making sense, people say you have a good manifesto, your program sounds good, you have good policies, and so on. We were not reaching the people where it matters. First of all, at the level of the belly. There was a guy many years ago called Maslow who spoke about the hierarchy of needs. And while it is nice to have theaters and to have people sipping wine and cocking up their little finger in style, for the vast majority of people, the most pressing need is being able to get a meal, being able to find a bus fee, being able to put your foot somewhere that is not mud. And while we recognize the importance of these things, I believe that we probably were a little bit too abstract. So we are now, in our interactions with people, we are working wiser. We are getting to realize that many of the people who jump up with the yellow jerseys, some of them were not registered, some of them were not sufficiently motivated to go out and vote. So we have been doing our homework, and many times when people say, we're not seeing all you're quiet, it is not the sale. Sorry, it is not the noise in the market. The noise in the market is not a genuine reflection of the sale. So we have been doing some internal stock taking, some introspection, and we have been taking steps to address some of the flaws that developed within our system over the years. Now, there are other matters outside of our control. And I wish to draw tangentially to a case, I believe, in Dominica, the case of what they refer to as treating. Now, our laws speak quite clearly about the question of bribery. We know for a fact, and knowing something and having the hard evidence to present are not necessarily the same. You may meet someone handcuffed with a bullet to the back of the head and never arrest a suspect. I don't think you would put it down to suicide. So the fact that you did not catch a suspect does not mean that the crime did not take place. And it is the same with bribery. In fact, very often people are not even aware that what is taking place is a bribe when you are told, if you vote for me, you will get this, or take this, here is this.
Andall, just one clarification. In law, there's a difference between bribery and treating, if you look at the Representation of the People's Act. Treating is when the politician is trying to get the voter to vote for him by giving food or entertainment or whatever. Bribery is more or less when they're taking big sums of money from maybe the private sector to assist with campaigning in return for favor.
Yeah, well, I want.
There's one that speaks to the taking of large sums of money for campaigning, and then there's the other, which is treating, which speaks to the voter and trying to persuade the voter to vote for the political party or for the politician. And you're right. I think the challenge in law with these two terms is proving intent, because as a politician, you're putting yourself up for re-election. If you give a T-shirt, how does the court prove that you gave the T-shirt with the intent of asking the voter to vote for the NDC or vote for you?
Yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point, because as you know, in law, you can get several different interpretations. But the substantive point I'm getting at is that there are very often blatant violations of electoral laws.
Okay.
And we do not have a strong enough supervisory capacity to address those issues. So this is something now that not only political parties, but civil society and the nation as a whole must become a little bit more involved in, because it affects the quality of governance that we have to live with. We have heard the Prime Minister himself remark some months ago that the system is broken. I imagine that he's in the best position to know that the system is broken since he has been presiding over it for the longest while.
All right.
So
let me
there
just
are
ask you to
factors
stick a pin here,
internal to us.
Mr. Andall. Let me just ask you to stick a pin. We have to take a call. We have to take a call at this point.
To the position that we have found ourselves in.
Right. So let's take a call and we come back to continue that discussion. Caller, good evening.
Good evening. Greetings. Greetings to both guests and the host. Listen, a very interesting word came out of the mouth of Mr. Predhomme a while ago. Relative to this quote-unquote progressive constitution which this country has. Mr. Predhomme, I want to remind you of something, sir, which was discovered quite recently, that the Constitution of Grenada was never even made into law. It's nothing but an imperial order in council of the Queen's most excellent majesty imposed in the most de facto manner upon the people of this country without any participation or knowledge of them. I'd like you to refer to this document, sir. It is called, quote-unquote, Constitution Review in Grenada, some things to consider. I repeat, Constitution Review in Grenada, some things to consider. And you would see a document there. But also I'd like to ask this question. Where is it to be so, and I suppose you'll have to study it, Mr. Predhomme, where is it, Mr. Andall knows this too, whereas it is so that this country is operated without with a constitution, without legitimacy, validity, and legal authority, what do you people plan as people who hope to get into politics and to run this country? What do you hope to do with a thing like that? Thank you very much, and have a nice evening, will you?
Thank you so much, caller. And to remind those of you who wish to contribute via the phone lines this evening, the number you can call is 440-1252, 440-1252. Mr. Predhomme, you want to jump in on that issue? And let me just ask us to keep the answers kind of brief going forward.
Could you just bring it down to the genesis of the question?
Basically, what is your party's plan for constitutional reform?
To be quite honest with you, we have not really delved into that area to the extent of doing that review. As I said, we have a strategic operational plan, and the phase that we are in is rebuilding the party. We're in the process of phase 2. To give you an example, where the heavy part and where we can't miss this critical area is that we are doing heavy recruitment because we have to identify our base.
So we have to identify our base. Okay, so you're saying that you're doing a lot of recruitment and you have not yet delved into this?
No, we have not got to that level yet. It's within within our phase of our development of the party. So we are in the second phase of our plan. So the basic thing what we are doing right now is that we are in the middle of capacity building, extending the base of the party, and we have not looked beyond that. As I said, we mentioned the three things. The basic area that we are working on is a development plan for Grenada, a sustainable development plan. So we have not got on to
that you're not ready for the next election, or you will not be ready?
No. Well, that is why we are approaching it the way we are approaching it. We, as I said, I would repeat, we have a strategic operational plan, which is phased in how we're going to approach building back the party to have, because basically the party, we have to build back the infrastructure and the machinery of the party. What I would ask people is to go and look at our website, GULPgrenada.com, and that will give you an idea of how we are approaching our re-emergence.
All right.
So at the moment, GULP does not have a political structure. And are you recruiting for members or candidates?
Right.
We are doing both. You see, again.
Let me just ask him to hold there. Let's take a call. Let me just ask him to hold on that point. Let's take another caller. We come back on that. Caller, good evening.
Good night to you, and good night to all the persons in the panel. Let me say, first of all, Mr. Predhomme, welcome. But I am not certain that the GULP is going to get off the ground. But I wish you all the best. I wish you all the good luck. But I'm not of the opinion that the GULP as a political party is going to get off again. Sad to say it, but that's my reality. To Mr. Andall, why is it your party seems to have intelligent persons always at it, but you cannot keep a team, gel your team together. In one instance, you fire lots of people. In one instance, people start leaving your party, and your party seems to never able to get it to gel together. What is your main reason for that the party cannot gel together?
Thanks, caller. Mr. Andall?
Yes. Good questions and comments, caller. Now, many of the things that you spoke about, such as the expulsion of members, the resignation of members, these are historical facts that cannot be disputed. But I just wish to remind you that this is something that is not unique to the NDC. If you look at the history of all political parties in Grenada post-invasion, they have been beset by resignations. You have had amalgamations. You have had reconfigurations. You have had people who once were green as grass, now dressed in brilliant gold. You had people who were yellow and they have unripened to become green. So there is nothing new about that. What happens, though, is that sometimes if you allow your opponent to describe and to brand and label you, then you run the risk of certain things sticking with you, even though you may have outgrown them. I'm sure that all of us know a lot of guys who are over 6 feet now with the nickname Shorty, because at some point in their lives, they probably looked as if they were not going to add another inch, and then they had a growth spurt. So it's the same thing with NDC, I believe. We have been a very stable organization post-2012. We have had instances of leaders having to step down for one reason or the other, but there have always been a ready replacement and a smooth transition. And the beauty about it is that every one of our past leaders is still actively engaged with the party, which shows that there is no question of rift and infighting. Of course, there will be disagreements over direction, over policy, and so on. But these are things that every democratic organization will face. We have been able to face them. We have been able to remain a cohesive unit. And I assure you that this is what we are, and this is what we aim to continue to be.
All right. And Cassandra, just before we come back to you, though, we want to entertain as many callers as possible. We have another caller who's been waiting. Caller, good evening.
Good evening, so Mr. Andall. Mr. Andall, could you kindly highlight some of the points that the NDC has on the policy paper to take the country forward? I think people want to know some of them, please. Thank you.
Good. First of all, the NDC believes that Grenada must be developed by Grenadians and in the interest of Grenadians. We have assessed what are our natural strengths. We know that agriculture and fisheries must play an integral part in national development. And when we talk about agriculture, we don't necessarily mean the backbreaking work of the cutlass, the fork, and the hoe. We have to learn to integrate technology into our agricultural practices. We have to learn to introduce new crops, to find better ways of doing old things, and to find new things to do, to find ways to add value to agriculture. We must, above all, practice agriculture in such a way that younger people see it as a viable economic alternative. Unless we can do that, we are going to be faced with the problem of an aging farming population, a country more and more dependent on imports, usually, well, not necessarily of good quality, and resulting in leakage of valuable foreign exchange. The use of IT in education, again, that is of paramount importance. And this is something that we have to embrace. In fact, in the last NDC administration, a Center for Excellence was already established. Unfortunately, it was discontinued. A key priority of an NDC government will be a massive overhaul of our roads. This is extremely important. We have one of the best road networks in the world per square mile. However, over the years, our roads, or even in fact our main roads, but particularly our secondary and tertiary roads, have fallen into severe neglect and disrepair to the point that many of them are no longer motorable. So this is an area that will be of high priority for an NDC administration. And one thing we are going to assure you...
I'm certain at some point that the party will publish its manifesto, because I'm certain if you were to outline all of your party's plans, it will take us the rest of the evening, but we only have 10 minutes remaining. Cassandra, do you have another question? Because we have some coming in fast and furiously on the social media platforms.
No, you can go ahead and entertain the comments.
All right, so Mr. Andall, there's a question here. Well, when the NDC finally decide on a decisive leader to propel them forward, and if not, has one been identified? Is there any plan to purge the unprogressive and detracted members that contribute to their consistent losses at the polls?
The last part first. I believe that the NDC has done enough purging. Politics, electoral politics, you cannot ignore the importance of numbers, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to purge members. What we have to do is to find out how best we can use the talents and the abilities of existing members while we aggressively go out to recruit new people. So we're no longer in the business of expelling and purging, but of recruiting and of maximizing people's talents and their capacities. What was the first part of the question, please?
If I can go back to it, 1 second. When will the NDC finally decide on a decisive leader to propel them forward?
Okay. The NDC is a democratic organization, and we have our regularly scheduled convention coming up. I'm not at liberty to disclose the exact date for strategic reasons. But as per our current constitution, a new leader is up for election every 3 years. So in other words, the leader serves a 3-year term. Given that our last elected leader resigned some months ago, late last year around November, we have had an interim leader in place since then. So we have always had a leader. And the culture of the NDC is not the one man or the one crab in a whole culture in terms of leadership. Of course, we recognize that there must be someone who can be identified as the leader, but we believe in building a strong, diverse, and competitive team in the NDC. We believe that this is much stronger than this or than this. So our focus is on putting together a well-balanced team, balanced in terms of gender, in terms of age, in terms of skills and experience. And when the time comes, it will be up to the delegates to determine who we elect as our, as you call it, definitive leader going forward.
And we have a question here on social media from Mr. Predhomme. Mr. Predhomme, you still sound a little bitter about the revolution. Are you prepared to forgive those people who wronged your family in the past?
No, I was just stating facts, and I am one who.
No, you're not prepared to forgive?
No, of course. No, we, for matter of fact, we should have a national reconciliation commission that is independent, that can address all those issues. What I can tell you is that we have moved on, and that's why we are rebuilding the Grenada United Labour Party as an institution, a premier institution that would impact the development of Grenada, that would include the diaspora and the important impact that the diaspora can make in terms of economic development. We have moved on in the sense that we want to build an entrepreneurial society. We want to have the impact on the average Grenadian. That is the reality of the Grenada United Labour Party. Is a grassroots, purpose-driven organization. And as I mentioned, we let our passion drive our purpose.
Okay, so I think you've answered the question, Mr. Predhomme.
And I would make it on certain terms that we have moved on.
Great.
That is very clear.
got the answer. Thank you so much. Mr. Andall, rapid fire, you only have 30 seconds to answer this. What is the NDC's position on mandatory vaccination, and will you have found the money to pay the workers the 4%? 30 seconds, Mr. Andall. Cassandra, we're coming to you for your closing questions.
We do not support mandatory vaccination. We encourage people to get vaccinated for the benefits that vaccination has traditionally offered. Regarding the 4%, there has been reports published by the government itself of massive surpluses. I think 11 point something million in January, 6 point something million, or 5 point something million in February from the recurrent budget, I believe. Therefore, the monies are there. And while the government is crying trouble and saying that they cannot pay the teachers, the same government has found the money to put a millionaire on public assistance as a so-called advisor. So the money is there, and an NDC government would honor our commitments to the workers.
All right, so Cassandra, we want to toss to you quickly. We only have like a minute and a half remaining. If you have a closing question for any of the panelists.
Not more so a question, but just a concern. Over the years, we have seen blatant disregard to the Grenada Constitution. I've listened to the discourse and I keep hearing the Constitution being mentioned. One of the things that as voters, especially young voters, and I can speak for myself and my peers that I'm aware of, that we are looking at is to ensure that the political entities that are putting themselves up for election or re-election in some cases, that their ideologies and their program and policies are aligned with the fundamental principles of the Grenada Constitution. Because if you're given the opportunity to govern our country and manage our affairs, you are going to take the oath which says, in part, that I swear to honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of Grenada. And we have not seen that happening. So I'm saying on behalf of my peers, and of course the older people who are obligated and concerned about the disregard to our Constitution, we just hope that that the individuals, and not just Mr. Predhomme and Mr. Andall, but any entity, any individual who putting themselves up for election, that you respect our Constitution. We have seen too many of our rulers disregard the Constitution, and it's of concern to us, the voters. So I just want to put it out there. And I know this will not be our last discussion in whatever platform. And I'm looking forward to engaging with Mr. Predhomme to hear about what his plans are. And of course, the NDC. And I think, Mr. Andall, I want to close off with you. I'm hearing a recurring theme from you about listening to the people. Over the last, let's say, 17 months, one of the things that the people of Grenada have been asking for is fresh faces, fresh ideas within the NDC. I think many still see the NDC as a viable option, but they are making, and the people are making a suggestion that some of you, and I'm using you because you have put yourself up for election on 2 occasions and have lost, and in the eyes of the people, it shows that they have rejected you, for lack of a better word, and yet you're still putting yourself up for re-election. Why? Why aren't you listening to the people? And I've posed this to other members of the NDC. If the people
all right, so it's 10 o'clock now, so we have to... Cassandra,
so can I answer
we
now,
have
please?
to... Mr. Andall, you only have like 20 seconds. It's on the nose 10.
Okay. First of all, the door is wide open. We have open and democratic processes within the NDC. Having lost once, twice, or 3 times is no disqualification. By that token, Joe Biden would not be president. Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador in Mexico would not be president. Ralph Gonzalez would not be prime minister. So this is just a very arbitrary yardstick. And I'm not blocking anybody's way. Nobody in the NDC is blocking anybody's way. The door is wide open. Whenever we get a fresher or more viable candidate in my constituency or in any other constituency, I am first and foremost a team player. I'm not in this for ego or for personal aggrandizement. So I am wide open to this. Cassandra, you're welcome to come on board. Any other young people, welcome to come on board. But whether you're young, old, experienced, or inexperienced, you have to bring something to the table. And youth for its sake does not necessarily mean that you're going to be better, just as so-called experience for its sake does not necessarily mean that you're going to deliver. So it has to be a merit-based system, but an open and democratic one.
Thank you so much. And let's close tonight's program. The NDC looked at the issue of the 4%. We have a press statement that was issued by the government earlier today saying that the government has signed a collective bargaining agreement with the trade unions representing public officers. That since, I'm picking up in the middle of a sentence, the country's revenue has declined dramatically. However, we are now seeing an uptick, and although we are not yet where we were in 2019, we're hoping that soon we will be able to resolve this matter of the 4%. According to the Prime Minister, finding a solution is critical, and I quote, "I am not worried about the political fallout from the dispute. What I'm worried about is the education of the nation's children and the future of this country. I assure you that government is moving speedily to find a resolution. I do not want schools to reopen in September. With this situation still unresolved, no one will benefit," end of quote. Dr. Mitchell also underscored the value of education, saying without an education, he will not have the opportunity to serve as Prime Minister. So it is looking as though the 4% issue might be resolved, and if we go based on the press statement issued today by the Prime Minister's office, hopefully by September the matter will be resolved. That's where we come to the end of another program. I'd like to say thanks to our panelists this evening, Mr. Joseph Andall of the NDC, Mr. Geoffrey Predhomme of the GULP, my co-host Cassandra Mitchell. Of course, we invited the New National Party, who declined respectfully on the weekend. The TGM declined at the last minute this evening because of our selection of Cassandra Mitchell as our co-host. This evening, the GBN retains the right to select members of its panel as well as its co-hosts, co-facilitators, and we respect the right of our invited panelists to decline if they so choose to do as they've done this evening. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Odette Campbell saying so long for now. We'll see you again next Monday if the good Lord tarries.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
As you celebrate the life of your loved ones, Just Cool Photos offers live streaming, virtual interactions, and video recording packages for all funeral services. Contact us through your funeral directors or call 473-409-1981 to choose your package.